Welcome to Hispanic Biz, Success Stories. I'm Homero, Galicia. We interview business owners who have built wonderful businesses to learn from them their story, why they built the business, how they built the business, what obstacles they faced and overcame, in hopes that you find these stories entertaining, interesting, and educational. Today we're fortunate to have with us Carlos Gandara and Teresa Gandara, who own Pencil Cup. Thank you for being with us today and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having us.
Let me ask you, what is Pencil Cup?
Pencil Cup is an office product and supply company. We exist because of our customers. We started this business 15 years ago, focused and questioning what true customer service should be. Everything we do is with our customers' best interest in mind. We supply them with anything that you can need in an office supply, in a company. From paper to writing equipment, furniture, break room equipment, mailing supplies, anything you need, we supply our customers with so that they can do business and be successful at their businesses.
Thank you. And Carlos, you started the business in what year?
2001, it'll be 15 years in a week and 3 days.
Wow, fantastic. It's been a good ride and still going.
Still going, and it's been a good ride.
Good. Well, let me ask you, before you started Pencil Cup, of course, you're both from El Paso. Carlos, you're from El Paso?
Born and raised.
In what neighborhood did you grow up in?
Sunset Heights, and then Current Place.
Okay. And your family, how many of there are you?
I have a stepbrother, Ismael. I have an older brother, Jaime, an older sister, Dolores, and a younger brother, Jose.
And what do they all do now?
Jaime is the defense attorney for the county. My sister Dolores is a landlady slash. She contributes a lot to a center in South El Paso, so I guess we could call her a philanthropist. And my brother Jose owns a tractor company, Century Machinery.
Okay, thank you. And what schools did you go to?
I attended Holy Family, St. Patrick's, Mesita, and then I went to California for 2 years. I came back and I graduated the 8th grade from St. Patrick's, left again, and then went to Cathedral for 2 years and graduated from El Paso High in 1973.
Thank you. I know Lola. Lola was a very good friend of Luis Jimenez, the artist.
Yes, she was.
And she collaborated a lot with him and helped him a lot. Of course, I know Jaime and his children, and Teresa. I know your daughter, but you're also from El Paso.
Yes, native, born and raised, desert rat.
And where did you live?
We lived in the Austin area. I won't tell you how many high schools I went to because there's not enough time. But I went to quite a few. We're a family of 10. Mom and Dad made the 10. We had 8 children. I have 5 older sisters, and I have 4 older sisters and 3 younger brothers.
And they're all around town or all over the country?
They're all over. My sister Rose is an oncologist in upstate New York. My sister Maria Elena is now retired, but I considered her the first maquilladora worker because she started going back and forth over the bridge, working for Toyota when she was 18 years old.
Wow.
A while ago. I won't say a long time because she'll get upset. And my sister Pat is here in El Paso, and she works at the psychiatric center. She's a nurse practitioner there. Julieta works with a American Airlines. And my brother Eddie is retired. My brother Danny has his own processing company, and my brother Martin works in the car business with credits and stuff about anything about
auto
cars.
lending.
What is your maiden name?
Rojas, Teresa Rojas.
So, how did you meet?
Oh, you had to go there, didn't you? We met when I was working for Jaime. Jaime is Carlos's brother, and we met then.
Did you date a long time?
Actually, this is a story we have to tell over a margarita, okay?
Well, let me make it quick. She couldn't stand me when I met her.
I could stand.
Because I took some tickets in to tell her take care of these, and she said, "You're not my boss."
He walks into the office and puts the tickets on the desk and says, "Take care of these." I don't even know who he is.
She knew me for 2 years. Couldn't stand me. The feeling was mutual. After 2 years, we met at a Christmas party. We talked, and a month later we were married.
Isn't that interesting? Fantastic. So something clicked. So how many children do you have?
2. Well, Carlos has 3. Cecilia is his eldest daughter, and she has our 3 grandchildren, 3 boys.
Fantastic.
And Christina is my eldest daughter, Carlos and my eldest daughter, and she works with us as well. And my son Carlos is part owner of our company, and he works with us as well.
So your children are working with you. So now it's a family business.
Yes, sir.
Yes, completely.
And
the grandson works too. He's the official company shredder, like he calls himself.
okay. What does that mean?
He
shreds the paper.
He comes and he knows how to push the buttons to go forward and back, and
To work the shredding
he shreds
machine.
the machine. He shreds all
That's
the time.
fantastic. That's great. That's great. So what was it like? Did you always have an idea that you wanted to own a business or start a business?
Not really. When I started in the industry, I started as a driver for Jack Bodewis and Earl Lindgren in 1973. And 2 years later, they put me in sales inside. And I sold furniture in a little store called the Office Mart for 2 years. And in 1975, when one of the ladies that sold office supplies in their office supply division retired, Dick Schroeder was the manager for that division, and he hired me. And then in 1976, they sold out to Stationers Corporation. And I was with Stationers Corporation until 1984. I went to work for a company called Rio Grande Office Products for 1 year. And then I went to work for Anna and Harvey Joseph in 1985.
Harvey had, what Sturgis?
Sturgis and Company.
Sturgis. I went to high school with Harvey. And so you were learning that field of operation pretty well.
I've done it since 3 months after high school. I haven't done anything else.
Wow.
Just this industry.
Wow. Now, Teresa, you went another direction out of high school.
Yes. When Carlos and I got married, I had already had about 2 years of college under my belt. I expressed to him that I wanted to finish that. I don't like starting things and not finishing them. It took me 20 years, but I eventually got my bachelor's and began teaching. I was a coach and a teacher at Terrace Hills Middle School. I loved it. I loved it with a passion. And then I decided to go and check out administration. And I got my master's and went and was an assistant principal at Bassett Middle School. I loved that just as well. Yeah. But when I had an opportunity to go and be part of a family business that we had started, and our name was on it, there was too strong of a pull. So Carlos had helped me get through my dream, which was education and working with children. Now it was time to see if I could support him and his, and it has since then become a family dream.
So how long did you teach?
I was in education for 12 years.
Okay. And the business was about how old when you left?
Well, when we started it was, I wasn't there because I was already an administrator, but I was there on weekends and doing certifications and paperwork, etc. And then I'd go and be the teacher, coach, principal, and go back and forth. So that went on for 5 years. 5 or 6? About.
6 years.
So you're operating the business, and you're helping on weekends. So when she comes to the business full time, what was that like?
Mm-hmm.
We went from $900,000 a year in 2006, in October of 2006, to by the time we got to 2009, we were up to 3.7, and it took off with her certifications and her marketing. We just exploded, and my banker would always tell me, "Be careful, growth can kill you," and it almost did.
What do you mean?
We grew too fast, too big, hired too many people, spent too much money, and we were up to a 25-person staff. And we thought we needed more people to handle it, and we made some mistakes that have been since corrected. But and the banker always said, be careful, growth can kill you. And we were up to 5 drivers and a part-timer, and we had 4 people inside, sometimes 5, when we should have had maybe 3 drivers and 3 people inside. But a lesson learned.
And there's no better lesson to learn than from the school of hard knocks.
Well, if you learn from them.
Exactly.
You know, and growth is a step-by-step process. And, but let me go back a little bit, because I need to ask about. I'd like to ask about your parents. You know, what were your parents like?
My father worked for the El Paso Water Utilities, and then in 1965 he went to work for William Beaumont, and he retired as the comptroller at William Beaumont. My mother, Delfina, was a teacher at Holy Family. She also taught piano, and in 1962, when she divorced my father, she moved to California with my stepfather, lived in the East Bay for 2 years, and then moved to San Diego. And she became an opera singer with the San Diego Opera, and she sang also for the Anaheim Opera.
Wow.
She would drive a bus every Thursday to sing with the Anaheim Opera.
Wow. Talented. So what did you learn from your father, and what did you learn from your mother?
My dad taught me how to be focused. And in times of my life where I was undecided on what to do and where to go, he always stood behind me and said, sell office supplies and furniture. That's what you're doing. Just be the best. And I stuck with it, because there were days and there were years where I thought, well, I don't know if I want to do this. And he just told me, stay focused and stick with it, and it worked. My mom, because of the distance, it was just always a happy time with her, to spend with her, and to grow up and to see her and her career just be a success. But as far as living advice, it was always cuidado, mijo, because we were pretty rambunctious kids.
Yeah, I can imagine. Where did you live in Sunset Heights?
On Randolph Street.
Yeah.
And then when I went to El Paso High, both of my parents left El Paso. My dad was in Dallas. My mom was in San Diego. I wanted to be here, so I asked my grandmother, can I live here? She said yes. She lived on Los Angeles in Sunset Heights. But you have to work. So I grew up in the restaurant business. She made me go wash dishes and wait tables and clean the kitchen.
They had a restaurant?
Jacalito.
Really?
Mm-hmm. On San Antonio.
Really?
Back in the day.
Wow. And so, did the music talent rub off?
Nah, not a stitch.
No, I don't know. When he sings in my ear, it's got that little thing going on.
Not a stitch. I played clarinet for 2 years in school, but I never kept up with it.
Yeah. There were guys that I knew in high school who went to California for real estate, and some of your friends. I don't know if that's who you connected with. They all went, a bunch of guys went out to California.
And they're all back.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They all came back. But they had some properties and things like that. Teresa, your parents, what were they like?
My mom was a stay-at-home mom until she started working with my dad. And I believe I got my entrepreneurial spirit from my dad. I was a tomboy growing up. Carlos says he was rambunctious. Both of us were hell raisers. Kids have to know that those are the kids that have the entrepreneurial spirit inside of them.
Bingos.
Yes, we're the ones who say why. My mom always used to say, condenada, si te digo que está muy caliente, lo tienes que tocar. That's part of it. You have to find out for yourself. You decide way along the way that, you know what, this is my ball game. I'm going to participate in it. I'm going to do this my way. And my mom, was 5'2". She was a tiny lady, and she ran our family like a military unit. Dad would come home sometimes on Friday and say, "Vámonos." And within half an hour, she had all 10 of us in that car. Everyone knew what they were doing. You're getting the blankets, you're getting the water, you're getting this, you're getting that, boom, 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 ready to go. And so from her, I learned a lot of my organizational skills. And from my dad, I learned the entrepreneurial spirit. He worked as a jeweler for many years, and then he went out on his own and did his own business. And my mom went to support him in that.
Current Place Jewelry.
Oh, okay.
And my dad always used to say,
Mondo Rojas.
he always used to say, I don't care if you clean toilets. Do you make sure your toilet's the cleanest toilet there is?
Where was the store currently?
It was on Stanton Street.
Do you know where the new Crazy Cat is?
Yes.
Right above.
Okay.
Well, it was on. They moved it 2 or 3 times because it was at the Walgreens where the old Walgreens.
Then it
used
was
to
above
be.
the new Crazy
Then
Cat,
the
and then it
Crazy-
was at
and
the
it-
corner where the old post office used to be.
Okay.
So they moved a few times.
Yeah, I used to work there on Cincinnati and Stanton. Used to be a hardware store.
There you go.
Peterson's Lumber.
Yes, I used to work there when I was going to college. I used to wash all those triangular windows.
Then you saw me down at Wynn's, didn't you?
Probably, yeah, Wins. That's
I
right.
worked at Wynn's for a little bit.
I used to say you can never lose for going to Wins.
There you go.
Ta-da.
So anyway, so those things that you learned, you know, in your childhood and your growing up and from your parents, do those things have impact on the business management, the business things you have to deal with? Do they help, Teresa?
Working in a restaurant, if you've worked in a restaurant for more than 2 years, you can work anywhere. That's some of the hardest work you can do. You prepare the food, you have to make sure that the floor is properly cleaned because you have inspectors that go into the kitchen, and you have to make sure that the dining room is spotless so that no customers complain. And you have to be pretty solid and pretty ready and have an ethic to just keep on going, and I think that's where I learned mine.
I think we've learned that having this business, whatever goes right, it's because of us, but whatever goes wrong, it's because of ours.
us.
We own this business.
Can you give
This
me an
is our
example?
business. Well, I've said before that there's been 3 times that we almost killed our own company. Our company's now at the point where it's running itself pretty well, and we've put a few processes in place, and we have people who are our managers. Diana's taken over the inside management of the company. Mark Krill has taken over the management of the warehouse and driving, etc. So we've begun to release responsibilities to our employees. My son Carlos has been the go-to guy since day one. He does everything. He puts in furniture. You've seen Carlos. He's a big guy. So I remind everyone about the Avengers movie where they say, oh my gosh, they have an army. And they say, we have a Hulk. I've got a Hulk. And my son Carlos picks up very heavy boxes and puts together furniture and helps us, you know, with anything that has to be done. But and Christina's taking over more of the marketing side and the
Customer service
from us. So we have begun to release our obligations to the company, but I don't know how far that will go because we started it and it's ours, and we know that we are responsible for everything that happens there, and we're very hands-on.
So this idea that you can kill your business, you can also give it life.
Oh yeah, and we've pumped plenty of life into it. We've gone full force and done what we had to do to make sure that we were building it, making it sustainable, making it just making it so that it will survive anything.
So what did you do when you came in and after being in the schools? Let me ask you first, did the school teaching and coaching in the schools and being assistant principal, did that prepare you for business in any way?
Yes, and my son Carlos could never understand. He says, why did you leave the schools? He thought being an assistant principal was a holy grail, I guess. But it took him a while to understand that my education is mine. I didn't do it for anyone else. I didn't do it to give to or add to anyone else. It's something I did for me. And when I first wanted to go to school, my parents said no. They said, my dad in his most loving manner said that was too dumb. And my mom said, no más quieres estar con los hombres, which was partially right. But I lost him for 6 years to get my education. And we found our way back together. But what I learned, just going to school, just the process of being in school and starting my degree and ending my degree, it teaches you everything about stick-to-itness, about, you know, starting something and ending it, seeing it through, no matter how long it takes. And in the school district was phenomenal about teaching me so much about coaching, and not just on a playing field, coaching people, administration, human resources. The things I learned while I was at the district, I couldn't have learned in a classroom. So it prepared me well for our company.
So when you came in and started involving yourself in certifications and all, what was that all about?
He makes it sound like I came in and wow, well, we make a good team. That's what it is.
Here was the beginning. When we started and we went to get our EIN number at the bank, I couldn't be the owner because I was, as far as they were concerned, unemployed. So. Okay. So they made her the owner of the company.
That's at the beginning.
At the very beginning.
The EIN is the employer identification number from
your federal
IRS.
Tax ID number, and we were woman-owned from day one.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But I didn't certify.
Right. Well.
Till I got there.
Well, she certified the first year. Okay. As we were questioned by a gentleman out of Washington by the name of Mr. Reed, that would call me and say, where's the owner? It's Teresa Gandara, you're not the owner. I said, well, I work for her, but she's not here. She'll be here Saturday. And he said that one of the certifications that we did have at the time was going to be removed unless she came and started running the business. So on the 6th year in October, he called me that November. And he said, Mr. Gandara, is Teresa there now? And I said, hold on. And I handed him the phone. And she explained, I'm here permanently now, and you know that way we'll remain with our certification. But that's how we had to start. I was considered unemployed, and they wouldn't.
See, and that was a decision that we took on as well. Carlos has always been very gracious at saying, I did, etc. We started this, and he said, your paycheck is going to buy this business, so you're going to be majority owner. Which was fine with me. I was like, all right, cool. I'm in. But he knew that from the beginning. I did not certify as woman-owned until I came to Pencil Cup. Okay. I certified as a hub minority owner, which I certified him as the minority and myself as a minority, and eventually certified Carlos as well. Once I came over, I certified our company as a woman-owned business. And at that point, I just started marketing. And the first thing I did was go and knock on the front door of the Hispanic Chamber. And what people that want to start their business have to know is that they're not alone. If you want to do business in El Paso, seek out your Hispanic Chamber.
The Hispanic Chamber is amazing.
They are amazing at helping local businesses. Tremendous resources. And supporting, and they talk the talk and they walk the walk, because they truly support their local businesses. The other contact I made, because I decided, it was like, why aren't we selling to the city? Well, there's certain processes that everyone has, purchasing processes, mandates. And we got on a bid that allowed us to sell to the city, county, and state. It fulfilled their procurement mandates. Then we said, hey, how about military? So we got as an approved vendor under a GSA contract and started selling to the military as well.
So did you become a hub certified for the state?
We were hub certified from almost day one.
From day one for the state.
As a minority business
Historically
for the
utilized
state.
Business.
We were also at one time hub zone certified through the federal government, but because we don't have the mandated amount of people, the 33% of employees, we still are hub zone, but we're not eligible. And those are all the rules that you have to.
So your office is in the hub zone.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Which is a federal hub zone, not the state hub zone.
Yes, sir.
And to get hub zone contracts from the government, you have to have 33% of your employees live in the hub zone.
33% living in the hub zones.
Yes.
And there's very specific zones in El Paso that are certified as hub
and
zones.
that's to improve the economic condition of that zone.
Exactly.
It's a designated zone.
Exactly.
Pretty much downtown El Paso.
So when you talk about state, it's state hub.
Right.
When you talk about federal, state hub has to do with your minority status. Federal has to do with your zoning, where you are, and the number of employees that live in those hub zones to create a better economic value to those zones.
And then you went and do you have a GSA contract?
I do not have one, but I am an approved vendor under a GSA contract. And that process has changed 3 times since we've been in this business. The government's always changing, and we've always adapted. And I'm an approved vendor, so I'm not the majority contract holder, but I am capable of selling to the government under that contract.
So, so are you considered commodities? Is your products considered commodities?
It's product, it's commodities, yeah, and service, but mostly commodities.
So this this idea of coming together as a couple to run a business, did that strengthen the business and strengthen your relationship?
Well, what hasn't killed us has only made us stronger.
You know, they say that people that work together usually end up exploding or imploding and I had several people tell me, learn how not to speak about work since she's there now. And I can't not say what I need to say when I need to say it, because I don't have any more hair anymore, and it all leaks out, so I forget. No, but I do. I have to express myself, and pretty much the sacred day for no business talk is on a Sunday. But we have a round table every morning. We have coffee for 15, 20 minutes every morning to discuss the day and to discuss what the plan is. And we have coffee Saturday for 2 or 3 hours before we get to the office.
And by the way, he makes the coffee, and he serves me my coffee, and he's done it since the first time. I fell in love with him, and he's done it every day since.
Yeah,
I make
Thank
pretty
you,
good
honey.
coffee too.
He makes the best coffee, nothing but Starbucks.
But there's, in communication, even if it's a minuscule subject or a minuscule topic, I don't want to leave it, and I always say what I'm going to say when I say it. And we do really try to keep Sundays.
It used to be Saturday and Sunday, but we just gave up trying to fight it on Saturday.
So really, it's hard to separate family and business.
If you're partners, got to share it. If you're partners, you have to discuss it.
No, I do refuse on Sunday. I won't even. I'll get up and leave the room.
And there's been times where I don't sleep at night because of something pending, and there's been times where she doesn't. And she'll wake up because of something pending that she can't get off her mind. And it's just the nature of owning the business. And I can't tell you that this isn't hard work. It's the hardest work I've ever done, but I've enjoyed it more now than I ever have.
Fantastic, fantastic.
I feel like we're just starting.
Ah, that's great. Well, let's get into that whole business of the business. Let me ask you, Mr. Gandara, why did you name the business, or did both you and Teresa name the business Pencil Cup?
I sat down with a friend of mine, a friend of ours, Viviana Patino. She's an attorney.
Yes.
And we discussed logos and names. And Gandara Office Products came up. Gandara Industries came up. El Paso Office Products came up. And I had a pencil cup on the table, on the dining room table, that I brought from my office that was a gift to me, that somebody spent a lot of money on. It was a leather with gold plate. And I said, let's name it Pencil Cup. Pencil Cup Office Products. And it stuck.
Yeah.
We like the simplicity of it. We like the fact that it's something, everybody has a pencil cup on their desk. And we started working on the logo, and Viviana worked tirelessly with us on everything, and he and her drew and redrew and redrew, and we finally came up with our logo.
Well, I sure appreciate you sharing your story and being willing to share with us. Let me ask you, why did you decide to start the business?
I had been in the industry since 1973, and it was, like Terry said, why should you work for someone else? Why don't you just go out and do this after corporate America was through with me? I went through all of the companies I worked for. I became upper echelon management, district manager, and in all of their evolution, I ended up unemployed. When I was released with a 6-month non-compete, which meant that I couldn't even open up on my own. And after 6 months, I sat down. She said,
"We're having our coffee.
You open the business and let's get going. You know this from stem to stern, from top to bottom. This is what you need to do." And when we opened up June 1st, before we opened, I was in the planning stage, and we actually had the semi-tractor delivered to our house, 2 orders that I had sold to my CPA and to the YWCA. And Pat Gorman, our first landlord, wanted me to rent from him. But I said, "Pat, I don't have any money." I said, "You need to give me 12 months free." He says, "I can't do that." He says, "You're giving me a headache." He says, "I can't." So he met with his cousin, Charlie, and Pat Gorman have G&G Investments. And he said, "We'll give you 6 months." So I started. Well, after the first 3 weeks, I was sitting there at 3 in the morning waiting for my truck, and all I could ask myself was, what the hell am I doing? I said, Sam's is here now, Costco's here now, Office Depot's here now, Staples is on the way, Corporate Express is still alive, and
half of them are gone now.
Yeah, there's a lot of evolution there too. Office Max closed; they became part of Office Depot, and we just kept going. And before I knew it, one of the first large customers was actually the workforce. There was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Ponder, and 2 months into it, I had called on them when they were located off of behind Casa Ford, and Fernando, the buyer, had asked me for 200 binders, but he said, I'll give you the order on one condition. I need him here at 6. We're having a meeting with the staff. So I told him, "Fernando, if I get them, if my truck gets there at 4 and I get them, I'll be here at 6. Well, everything flowed proper. I got there at 6, and there was a guy in a t-shirt and Levi's that opened the door for me. And he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Pencil Cup Office Products." I already had a logo shirt. And he says, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm delivering binders." Fernando needed 200 binders by 6 in the morning. So he looked at the binders and he goes, "Okay, there's 200, and sign for them." At 9 o'clock, Fernando called me and said, "You need to put your suit on and be here at 11. And I thought, well, they're either going to accept me or they're going to throw me out. So I got there and I said, "What's going on, Fernando?" And he says, "Come on in here. We're going to have a meeting with this gentleman in the room." And I walked in, and there was the man that had the t-shirt and the Levi's on in a suit. And he said, "This is Mr. Ponder, and he's the director of the workforce right now. And he wants to let you know that we need a price list, but anybody that can deliver product at 6 in the morning needs to be considered as one of our vendors for first call." And we discussed it, and then I submitted my pricing, and we were given a 4-year agreement with the workforce when Mr. Ponder was running it.
So what's your unique characteristic, and what makes you unique here in El Paso?
When you ask me, if you have 10 items that you need, when you ask me you're going to place the order for the 10 items, and you tell me, "Carlos, I'm getting ready for a presentation at school. I want them tonight at my house at 9. I'll be there.
It's all about customer service.
And it's not any difference to me. I'm not going to tell you, well, that's not our working hours, or I can't do it, or just tell me where you live and I'll be there with all 10 items that you need for your show tomorrow. And it's done. And I have done it for several customers. I was at Johnson & Johnson in 1989 at 4 in the morning because they were having a presentation to the employees and the lady needed indexes. I've been to some law firms at midnight because the buyer called me at my house Sunday night saying, we're going to court and they didn't tell me till tonight, so I need 10 cases of copy paper or 15 binders or whatever they need. And it's a customer's request that I honor, and I think that's what separates us from everybody, because she's done it too. And then I sent Joe out in 2006 and I almost killed him because a law firm needed indexes. And I said, here, take these to the customer, and they need them now. And he called me and he says, are you trying to kill me? And I said, hey man, I'm sorry, I didn't know this was going to happen.
What was that?
He was stuck on Mesa.
Oh. You remember that terrible
2006 flood.
Oh.
The flood we had?
Oh, up there by...
He drove by UTEP and the mountain was coming off.
Yes.
The rocks were coming down.
Wow.
And he called me and asked me if I was trying to kill him, and I said, no, what's wrong? He said, this mountain's falling off and they're going to close the freeway.
Yeah.
But it's just what we do, and all of our employees will do it. There's not one that will say no. All of them will come through. When you need them, you call them, they come through. And if a customer needs it at 6, we do it. If they need it at 6 at night, we do it. And we've opened Saturdays for people to come in, and we set the furniture up. All the furniture we sell is assembled for free. You just got to give me 3 to 5 days to put it together.
So Teresa, how would you then define customer service from your experience?
Customer service isn't what we decide it is. Okay, excellent customer service is what our customer considers it to be. So if our customer calls and says we need this now, it's our job to fulfill our commitment to them and get it to them now. The fact that our customer value proposition is based around our customers. I call that our CVP. We do next day orders free of charge. There's never a minimum.
Same day too.
Same day emergency orders when our customers need it. We never charge that minimum, which is huge to our customers. We have very competitive pricing. We don't try to get the big piece of the pie. We're humbled in knowing that our customers have choices to go wherever they want, and they choose us. And we've said it before, we know as a company, and our employees understand this too, this is company-wide, that our customers put the food on our plate, the shirts on our backs, and the roofs over our heads. So our existence is paramount to their success. Our customer service is truly geared completely around our customer. I was asked recently to do a diagram of our company, our organizational chart. And our customer is in the center. We don't have a hierarchy come down. Everything we do and everyone at Pencil Cup does is centered around our customer.
So in your business, who's number one?
The customer.
The customer. And if you ever forget, go back to that rule that says the customer's always right.
I think the thing that stays in my mind permanently, when my son was, well, I can't say small, when he was a little guy, because he's a big guy, one of his favorite things to do was to go to the arcade at Cielo Vista. And one day I needed to get tokens, but the token machine was out of tokens. And I went back to the office in the back, and I asked the guy if he could give me tokens because his machine wasn't working, or the machine ran out of tokens, and he said, sure. They had a sign in there. And you've heard the adage, rule number 1, the customer's always right. Rule number 2, if the customer makes a mistake, see rule number 1. Okay. Well, this sign said, rule number 1, the customer's always right. Rule number 2, if we don't take care of the customer, someone else will. And that scared the hell out of me. I thought, you know what, I'm going to live by that. And I'm going to take care of my customer, because if I don't, somebody else will. And I came from the days when you had a man like Isaac Castañeda at Norton Brothers, you had Lynn Markle at Office Service Center, you had Bill Harrison at Harrison, you had Mr. Norton, all of the Nortons, and they took care of customers. And those guys were in front of you, behind you, and all around you. So if you didn't, they could depend on them. Nobody serviced customers like Lynn Markle and Mario Carmona, the gentleman that worked for him.
So they were models for you.
I followed their lead.
Wow. Now, Teresa, you're very involved with Homegrown. Why?
Yes, I'm on the board of directors of Homegrown El Paso. I've been on now, I don't even remember how long, I guess it's been 5 years, because I started learning about the benefits to our city when you purchase from businesses and organizations that are in the local community. The benefits are huge to the city, to the tax base. When the state does the HUB program, it's to encourage people to buy from their local entities, because the tax dollars stay in your community. When you buy from a big box, all the research, it shows different numbers, but essentially it shows that when you buy from a big box, 75% of every dollar leaves the community. 25% stays there to pay the employees that are working there. But that money goes to their corporate office, to their golf course, to their whatever they have. When you buy from a local, in this case Pencil Cup, that money stays here, okay? Maybe 10% leaves because we have to pay for pay our supplier, 10, 20%. The rest of it stays here. That money makes our tax base stronger. Then there's the matter of reciprocity. The United States Chamber did research that shows that a dollar lives its life to its full extent 11 times. It passes around 11 times before it's used itself up. So if the money stays in El Paso, I'm going to spend it with my attorney. My attorney is going to spend it at his bank locally, we hope. That bank's going to spend it with someone else here. So the money rotates itself 11 times. Once I started realizing how important this is, as a lifelong educator, I thought, you know what, this is something I can really get behind and support and help, you know, spread the word so that other people could know. It's to make our tax base stronger.
So let me ask you, as your business grows, you have to hire more people. How many families are you supporting today?
10.
Now, and of course, you take that serious, right?
Extremely.
I'd say 12.
Well, 2 are part-time.
That's still supporting them.
2 are part-time. We value that. We value that, and I think the pride in owning this business is taking care of them, but also helping the community. Our contributions to some of the entities that need it, and in some days they need it desperately, is huge. And we don't make a big deal out of it. Those people that we contribute to know who we are, and they know that I'm talking about them.
Are you where you want to be?
Yes.
I would say no.
I'm going to say yes because we finally know what we're doing after 15 years.
Okay. That's what it takes, doesn't it?
Yep.
However, I would go because right now I'm very proud to say that I was elected, I was nominated and chosen to be part of the SBA's Emerging Leadership Program here in El Paso. It's been around the United States for 10 years, but it finally hit El Paso this year for the first year. And I'm learning, I always wanted to learn more about business because my education was not in business. Carlos's was not in business. His is experience, but we never learned the business of business. This is teaching me and teaching us the business of the business we're in. And right now I would say we're at, you know, when you're looking at the different stages businesses go through, We're at about the third stage where we're no longer just trying to exist. We've gotten a little bit more comfortable. We're at the stage now where we're starting to relinquish some of our control, and we're trying to become more sustainable within ourselves. And this has happened before the class, but now I can speak more eloquently of it because I can put the business terms to what we're doing. I would like for us to get to the point where we could step away even more and relinquish more of our power and responsibilities to our employees so that, you know, the business would continue running itself.
So you see businesses out there that don't have that understanding. What do you recommend to them?
Find out. It's you know, I've gone to so many places to speak. They have me go places to speak, especially women's group. And I've had women step up and say, oh, how do you do it in these tough economic times? And oh, you look to God, you look to family, you look to friends. Yes, to all the above. But I always tell them, there's no crying in business. If you can't do it, if you're not tough-skinned, if you're not passionate, if you're not committed, if you're not willing to put that elbow grease into working it every single day, except Sundays, you won't succeed. You have to have all of that. And there's just no crying in business. You'll fall down, you get up, and you keep going.
So tell me about tough times. How did you raise capital to start and to grow?
I didn't. Didn't have a penny.
My paycheck was going too.
We
That's all we had.
We grew. In fact, I remember the day I finally paid myself. It was the 4th year. And we grew through sales. We borrowed money from Acción to provide I borrowed money for Acción to pay Joe after the first 3 months because he was ready to leave. He says, "You're not paying me." So I caught up to him, and we borrowed. We finally went in the 5th year for a line, and we just got too big too fast.
We didn't understand what how the line of credit worked, so we abused it.
Well, I don't know if we abused it, but we had too many people and we grew too fast. And it was a lesson well learned because when she became 80 certified, she had to be reviewed.
Best thing in the world.
And we had a CPA come in and say, you need to make some big changes. And he took me from selling to becoming the bookkeeper. And then a good friend of ours, I think you know him, Larry Madrid, came in 2 years later and he said, "Oh, you're on QuickBooks and you're the bookkeeper now." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "It's a 5-year learning curve, so be ready, and be ready for the ups and downs of this too." And I think I have it finally after the 5th year of bookkeeping.
So now you know your numbers.
I trust my numbers impeccably today.
You know your numbers.
I trust them impeccably. I would state them to a lending company and to a bank and to somebody that needs them.
So you know the financial health of your business every day?
Yes.
And we're getting to the point where we are managing by our numbers as well.
How long did it take you to get there?
5 years from when I took the books. 5 years.
From the beginning, because we didn't have any understanding of it at the beginning.
We did very well the first 5 years. Don't get us wrong.
It wasn't until Carlos took over, though, that we knew where every penny was.
What does that mean? What does it mean to take over control of the books like that?
Well, it scared the hell out of me because I had never done it.
He used to have hair before then. He did. You think I'm joking?
I was selling.
He had a full head of hair.
I was selling, and I had a friend of mine that was doing it. And, you know, unfortunately, he didn't know what he was doing. And when my CPA came in to do the review, he said the changes have to be made. So we made them, and I had 3 lessons with a lady named Trish Montoya on books and bookkeeping, and we went from there. And I've made some mistakes, and I've learned from my mistakes. And when she asks me for financials now, I tell her these are solid. Or I'll tell her, hey, I need to reconcile, don't bother me for 3 more days. And of Going from outside to doing that was a huge change, a massive change for me.
So you know that if you get a big contract, you know how it's going to affect the finances in terms of people and costs. You read the parts and the pieces, and you
And you
understand
have to, in business, we understand that, and we have to, at that point, decide, is it worth taking over, accepting this? Because
here's the
nothing's
fine
wrong
line.
with saying no.
Here's the fine line. The fine line is simply this. If we're getting ready to take on business that's been granted to us, i.e. we want to bid, the fine line is you don't want to make the mistake of not hiring another person to make sure that the service level is what it needs to be.
All about that.
Our mistake, and I can say this honestly, my mistake was 3 drivers instead of 1 more. Or 2 more girls inside instead of 4 more. Or 1 more girl inside instead of 4 more. We just overdid it in a panic or in a worry that we were going to not maintain the service level that we want.
So did you make decisions out of desperation?
No, out of reality.
We made decisions based on our customer needs. That's what's always the driving force. However, when we made those decisions, and correct me if I'm wrong, we had not learned yet our financials well enough to be managed by the financials to say, you know what, yes, we need another person, we hire another person. We just hired 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people, and then it was like, and then the money, the cash flow's not there. It might be a bigger, so we've learned all of that. The School of Hard Knocks has taught us, and we've learned that based on the need, and if we do come to situations where we need capital, there's so much funding out there. Lift Fund is there for us, and we know those people, and they would, because of our credit's good and stuff, we've learned through the years who we have to go to should the need be there.
Right, they're the old Acción.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're a family business. You have your children, your son and your daughter working with you. Your daughter's a lovely lady. She went to school with my son. They're best friends, and it's really nice. Really nice. I'm really happy for my son and his friends.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you, is because you're now getting ready, you're developing a transition plan, which may be a 5-year plan. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But Carlos, there's something you would like to say that now that you have an opportunity to say something about what this whole experience is for you?
Well, one of the things I'm enjoying today is watching my children grow with the business and grow up in the business. They came in like bulls in the Lexan shop, and we've had to train them, and we've had to teach them and guide them. And my daughter walked up to me the other day and she said, "Do you know that there's a service issue here?" And all I did was look at her and smile. And when I did that, she said, "You want me to take care of this?" And I said, "If you recognized it and you know it needs attention, do it." And it's just a pleasure watching them grow to take responsibility, to say, hey, this needs to be done now. And I think in the last 2 years, I've seen a lot of improvement in both of them, and it's enjoyable to see that happen.
Wow. Well, I need to congratulate you too, because you were recently named the SBA Family-Owned Business of the Year.
Yes.
What was that experience like?
It was fantastic. We've never closed down our office completely, and that day we closed it down for a few hours because that award didn't belong to Carlos and Teresa. It was a company award. We took all of our employees with us, and we also had our first 3 customers, who are still our customers today, join us and celebrate, and we acknowledged many of our customers and telling them thank you for their support and their loyalty, and it was a fantastic feeling. We've worked very hard to commit ourselves to our customers, and this was just an acknowledgement that someone said, hey, we acknowledge the good job you're doing, and it belonged to all of us. It was very humbling.
We've received awards and she's received awards, and I've never
received
spoken. And when I put my suit on, I went and she said, "You're going to get a suit," and I said, "Okay." So the day we were going,
it wasn't that easy.
she came up and she gave me a recital of what she was going to say, and I said, "Good for you, honey. I'm going to speak for the first 10 minutes."
He almost knocked me off the podium.
And she said, "You mean today when we go and we're given the presentation?" I said, "I'm going to speak for the first 10 minutes and then you can speak." And she didn't believe I was going to speak.
But that was just testimony to how proud we were. It was
You did
time for
very
him
well.
to say, he did.
Well, you know, you can't say thank you too much to anybody. You can't overdo thank you. And I had to thank my employees, and I had to thank my family. They've put up with me. I'm not as soft and as mellow, and they've put up with me, and they've learned from me. And
You're not soft and mellow?
no, I'm softer and mellower than I used to be. But I have to be careful because my son's much bigger than me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
He's
if
what, about 6'4", 6'5"?
And if she
Busses him
needs me
around.
to get put in line, she just calls him. I'm kidding.
Well,
But it's been a tremendous reward for me with the family and to see my wife. And don't get me wrong, I took her away from 20 hours a day with the school district, okay? They overworked her and underpaid her. She would go in at 5 in the morning and come home at 10 at night.
That's just that work
Because she had a
ethic that we
volleyball
talked
game,
about.
and Saturday she was at the football game. So I said, "Hey, enough, come on."
But you know, the amazing thing about that award was just knowing that the SBDC, you have to be nominated for the award.
right.
So when somebody of
Audrey.
that caliber, Audrey and Joe Ferguson and
Audrey and Joe
all their
Ferguson,
people,
yeah.
it was
They
just, it's
nominated us.
proud. It's proud knowing that they think you're worthy of being nominated.
That's wonderful.
And we
So-
thank them.
Well, you certainly have a wonderful story and certainly share it well. And I'm so delighted that we've had this opportunity to learn about your business, a wonderful local business, and your contribution to this community. So we're proud of you, and we congratulate you, and we thank you for sharing your story
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank
And we
you.
thank you, viewers, for watching the story and trust that you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. Keep us in tune. Good day.